Okay. Just give me a second here, everybody. All right, so as Rick pointed out, I'm in the Western New York area with him as well, and I actually grew up, I'll show you my bio in 2 seconds, but I grew up in a business-to-business service business myself, so I have quite a bit of experience in small businesses and working with the exactly kinds of people that you all work with. All right, can we see it? You see my improving selection tools? All right, so one of the things I have, which is a video which I will be able to share with the group, is 11 steps to really hire your ideal candidate, your ideal person. I'm not going to touch on a lot of that today. I'm just going to give you a couple little intro slides. But what Rick asked me to focus on is how you can improve your selection with some really systematic tools and assessments. So I have 2 I'm going to share with you today. One I have quite a bit of experience with. It's they're all online, so I'll explain what they are in a minute. But basically, it's a tool that's a less expensive but equally powerful solution to one I've been using for 20 years. So I grew up in a family business. I actually came from 4th generation. My great-grandfather started a business. And I consult, so I have a local consulting firm, and we focus on people and performance. And we work with a range of clients, and I also teach at the University of Buffalo. So traditional hiring, as you all know, is you screen via interview, and you look a lot at technical skills, and we rely a lot on past experiences because we feel if somebody's done this job before based on past experiences, that they have what it takes in our office, in our business. So we focus quite a bit on knowledge and skills and abilities, but research shows that the technical skills and abilities is not the reason most employees don't perform well. Rick and I have a joint client now where they've been hiring people from the industry, and they've gone through 4 or 5 people who all had, in quotes, experience, but it didn't match up to the kind of experiences that they needed in their particular firm. So not to do a lot of theory for all of you, but ability is this in the bottom left here. This ability quadrant is what we're looking for when we're screening. We're looking for knowledge, skills, abilities. We look a little bit at personality. We're thinking about job fit, but the interview is not the best way to assess for those things, to find out those things. And the other 2 main reasons employees don't really work out and their performance isn't excellent. Often it's a matter of job fit. We didn't put somebody in the right seat on the bus, so that's an ability question. But the other ones are motivation, right? Are we offering the right measurement and feedback for employees? Are we rewarding them? And there's not just financial rewards. And many times attitude, beliefs, and culture fit are really the core why people don't succeed in your organization. Every office has got a different environment. Every boss, every manager has a different environment, and not everybody's a mesh for that. Okay? So we talk about with employee selection and with employees, current employees, you're looking at your experiences and knowledge, skills, and abilities, but there's other pieces of the pie that you can be selecting for and you can be assessing to make sure you have a fit in every area. So personality traits, again, we use the interview to do that, but it's actually not the most effective way. We sometimes look at competencies. Does anybody use the top grading method? Rick, have you?
Yes.
That uses that top grading?
To some extent, yes.
Okay, because that's highly focused on competencies. Identify the 4 or 5 key competencies that you need for that position and success, and then interview for those very systematically and very thoroughly. If somebody doesn't have planning and organizing skills in certain sales areas, they're not going to be successful. And then the other 2 that are really a reason employees don't fit are their value system. Some people value different things than you do, or value work, or value contribution differently. And also individual goals. So sometimes there's a mismatch between people's aspirations and the job opportunity, or they just don't have a career goal to achieve a certain career path that you might be thinking they want to do. So you want to make sure when you're defining your ideal candidate in our model of 11 steps, we go through all of these individually. And so for a selection process, here's really the kinds of, so on the right are the things you want to be looking for, okay? And on the left are the typical application selection process. So you do recruiting, and where I find the most small businesses where they could really, really improve their pipeline, their funnel for employees and for candidates is more recruiting. I had a construction company owner last night say to me, well, I run these ads, but I only get 2 candidates. Well, that's kind of slim pickings, okay? He's trying to find carpenters. Well, he needs to go back and do some more recruiting to find some more ideal candidates, to find some experienced carpenters. 2 people is not enough to pick from to really hire somebody that fits in all those other areas. And then the initial screening, usually when you're doing the initial screening, looking at resumes and doing an initial phone interview, that's where you want to look at the basic job fit and look at experience matches. But you don't want to stop there. Most larger organizations have used skill testing or other assessments to not only validate the knowledge, skills, and abilities of people, but then do an assessment process coupled with the interview process to identify the more soft things. So that's really where the targeted selection process becomes effective. To do targeted interviews and assessments to look for competencies, the culture fit, and the job fit. And then the other way that your selection process can be really improved is with validation. I know Rick has been, he told me he discussed with your group, he's discussed with my mastermind group that I have with him, and he's discussed, in many of the articles that he's sharing here in his group is about reference checking. You just talked about that a second ago, Rick. So I have a really nice online tool that I believe is a top grading recommended tool that I'll share with you at the end of our session today. How to do reference checks and how to do them more thoroughly. And the other way you can do validation is a background checks or physical what's the word I'm looking for? Assessment, where you have somebody go for a medical physical. So those are all the steps, and really where, in the beginning you should be looking at experience, but once you get past the initial phone screen, you should be working more on the softer things, and that would be a more effective selection process. So can I ask how many of you are doing any kind of assessment now or skill testing now? Anybody wants to give us examples?
Sure, I'll start. This is Bob here in Austin. Yeah, we have a couple of different screening methods and tests. We have an OMG sales test, and we also have a technical test, and then we have a skilled. My general manager, my wife, is pretty skeptical, and she gets on the phone and she has a bank of questions. She's not here right now, but he does that screening, which I felt is probably the most effective of all. And we have a list of questions that do fit these categories that you're doing in this clear, defined process. And if they get past that, then they finally come and see me with a face-to-face.
So she's doing a phone screen with the candidates before she brings them in and asking some really technical. That's a great process. You could really, people are willing to sit through. You found that, Bob, right, and your wife. They're willing to sit through almost even a half an hour or longer.
Oh yeah.
Skill testing questions that we've been digging more into, because all the resumes look the same.
Yeah.
But once you start talking to people, right, it really identifies somebody that has the technical skills that you think would be worth them bringing in for the interview. Okay, that's a great example. Other examples? No volunteers? Okay. I can't ask Rick because he's probably mute by now. You okay,
I can't talk.
Okay, I'm moving on then. Okay, I don't know what you're covering after this, Rick, so I can't cover for you there. But
right.
All right, so as we all know, the selection and investment can be very expensive. A lot of research has expressed this and done studies on it. If your average employee is $30,000 a year and their benefits are $12,000, and the manager's time is around $8,000, even a $15 an hour employee is costing you $50,000 a year. And we all know the difference between a good employee and a poor employee in terms of business efficiency and lost business. In fact, at the bottom, there's a lot of research that shows that a good employee might cost a few thousand more, but can support more revenue. This is, I think, inside sales and account management type work. 2.5 times their pay, whereas a poor employee costs a little bit less, but supports much less work or a customer book of business. So you're really not getting the same kind of return for that $4,000 you're saving. And there's a lot of quantification and costing out of the cost of turnover. Hiring a new person, training a new person is very expensive. So, and of course just the pain for the whole disruption of your team. And I know as an owner myself and having been involved with many recruiting, there's just that panic when somebody quits, right? They walk into the office and quit. Or the mediocrity that we put up with because we have somebody, but we know it's painful to hire somebody else. So, that's the other pain that we put up with because, selection is not everybody's favorite job. Okay. So top grading recommends that you want to have 3 candidates with a 90% probability of success. And I always coach clients and people I talk to that a choice of one is not a choice, right? the best person standing, but that isn't necessarily the best person. So you need to keep looking, to keep finding, 2 or 3 candidates that really you feel so confident this person's going to be terrific and work out. So let me give you some insight into this multi-part assessment that we use. As I said, it's an inexpensive version of one that I've been using for about 20 years. They all use a very similar psychology that I don't need to go into, but if you want to, you can call me and we can spend an hour on it. Interviews have been shown to contribute 14% to successful hire decision, and experience doesn't always fit what you need. The technical skills should be the minimum qualifications to do as Bob does, to bring you in for an interview. But there's often a mismatch in sort of the job scope or the speed that somebody used to work or was required or the work habits. So assessments can give you an insight into the potential job fit other than the technical skills. You still should be vetting those. You should still be giving quizzes or asking a lot of detailed questions. Assessments give you great insight to discuss more on a second interview. And I say this to everybody I give a session to, that we don't marry somebody after a first date. And sometimes we do that in hiring. They come in for a first interview, we like them, and we basically spend the second interview trying to convince the person to take the job. So you're marrying somebody after the first date if you do that. Okay. So what other things can you evaluate? Learning speed, work styles and desired supervision style. Okay. Emotional stability, which if you remember the EIQ movement of about 15 years ago, emotional IQ, emotional stability is a real predictor in success in anything, but it's certainly in your office, in your business environment. And then key competencies, ability to learn new things. Boy, in a small business, if there's one thing you need is somebody that's willing to learn something new. It's never the same. You need people to wear a lot of hats, right? You need somebody that's going to say, hey, I'll go figure that out for you. Taking direction from others, their desired supervision, how they follow procedures and handle details. Are they potentially friendly? Is it somebody that wants to work on a team? And how they handle stress. And I bet you can look at that list and think about people that didn't really match what you need because of one of those competencies. And also you can evaluate somebody's promotional potential or leadership potential to move into management or their potential to cross-train. Okay, so let me show you. So let me show you, it's a one assessment that a candidate goes and takes, but there's multiple different reports and different information that it shares with you. The first one is personality and job fit. So you see on our little graph here, this is general reasoning. This is learning speed. Okay, there's a 7-minute little timed component with a little math and verbal. Pretty basic stuff. Everybody could probably get it correct if you gave them an hour, but it also tests how somebody picks up something new. So that's why it's targeted to learning speed. Okay. You don't want somebody over here who has super fast processing needs in a very routine job. So it's not right or wrong with personality. It's really about what's the fit. Okay? Does that make sense? And then there's 6 different personality traits. So each one's a different one. Conscientiousness, tough-minded. And there's a range. So the range is the bell curve of the population. Okay, so people at the right side, this detail-oriented, dependable person under conscientious, they're as high structure and detail-oriented as you can get. And on the other side, carefree, impulsive people, very reactive. Okay, everything's urgent, maybe not as detail-oriented. So again, not right or wrong personality. This person is the red star here, kind of on the right side. The idea is what is the fit to the job. So you can see there's a green zone, a yellow zone, and a red zone. This is actually validated to over 100 different job titles. So it would
repeat that for us.
I'm going to repeat that for a second. Yep. So you
would.
I would have
job
titles. So you could compare me to a salesperson or customer service rep or administrative or service technician. Okay. So I would be a fit for some of those jobs, and some of those jobs I'd be in the red zone. So I have my personality. It's about what I'm a fit for. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 100 different job titles that are already standardized and validated, meaning they go out and test people that their employers say, these is a great service technician. Okay? So they have personality in common, traits in common. And that's how they build these models. Okay? So you're basically cloning the best people. And then the other nice thing is that it walks you through the differences. Right? And so customer service roles that require particularly high attention to detail continually throughout the day may be more difficult for this person. So it gives you some insight as to the match between the person and the personality and the job. Okay? And then so this goes through. And I have sample reports I can share with everybody after the call. Okay,
what is this question? What is this question at the bottom? What's that for?
Oh, then
they have questions?
this is the next part of the report is interview questions.
Oh,
Targeted
okay.
interview questions. So there's a short one here.
Okay.
So there's this graphical thing. Does that make sense? Right.
Yep.
Give me an example of how you've managed multiple customer inquiries. What technique has helped you the most? Some offices require more reactive, more being interrupted by the customer. Some offices you get to sit in the corner and play on your computer all day. Right? A different personality is effective in each of those roles. So there's tough-minded, conscientious I just went through, conventional, following rules, extroversion, emotional stability, and then teamwork. So these are the big 5 of personality. They're really the ones that are drivers of performance. And then, as I said, each person is compared to the different jobs, and there's over 100, but here's some basic ones: office support, construction, customer service, designer, financial, IT, I mean a whole list, warehouse, technician. The basic jobs that you have, there's going to be a model, a job title to match the person to. Okay? So that's really great insight, and then from there, there's interview questions. So here's interview questions for a customer service role under conscientiousness. Give me a time when you had to modify your plan several times to adjust to a customer's request. What happened? So now you're really drilling down to that job fit. Okay? Give me an example of a time when your high attention to detail was helpful in solving a customer service issue. Okay? So this is giving you a real roadmap for that second interview to get to know that candidate that much better. Okay? So that's the second phase of what's involved in the report. Okay? And then I mentioned those 5 or 6 competencies: taking direction, handling details, learning new things, following procedures, that whole list. There's a training and development report that goes along with each person's results. So it takes those different personality traits and combines them into how they would handle details, how they would learn new things. And it has a little narrative here. Okay? So you get to learn even more insight about the important components and competencies in the job. This is a job that details are important. It's going to tell you whether Sue here is detail-oriented enough for what you need. Okay? All right, so that's the third part. Any questions on that?
No.
All right. Okay, different questions, different report, but this has coupled, they basically threw this in here, an attitude, threw it in as in most personality assessments don't include attitude as well. This is a bunch of questions that ask about attitude, honesty, potential for hostility or substance abuse, computer misuse, if they like to spend time on their computer at work. Okay? And it actually has questions about all those things, and you can see here's somebody that's scoring in a bit of the gray zone. So you're asking these questions ahead of time, and the candidate's reporting those back. And then it also has interview questions. Basically, it indicates anywhere they answer the question in a way that wasn't favorable that you could ask the person about. Okay, so this is just another slice of looking at people and their work habits and their attitudes that they bring to the job. So that's another report that's included in the report package. And then if you have somebody you're interested in potentially moving up to a team leader or a supervisor or a manager, it couples all that information on the people's personality traits and puts it on a leadership identifier here. So it rates their above average, average, or below average match for these important leadership competencies: solving problems, making decisions, motivating others, okay, planning, time management. So it goes through each of those and says, well, based on, it's not to say that you won't be effective, but it's just saying, this is somebody who planning and time management is a challenge for them. They're probably very reactive. Okay? And it also has a descriptive report for each and every one of these. So it's called a leadership identifier. Okay? Okay. So we call it the job fit assessment package. The candidate spends about 30 or 40 minutes online, takes the assessment, and you get all those different reports. You get the job fit report, and you can match it. Well, you can match it to all 100 job profiles if you want, but usually 1 or 2 is a fit for what you're looking for. You might be considering somebody in 2 different roles potentially. You can compare them to one of the roles and the other and see whether they're a better fit. And then from there you get a competency-based interview question. You get that training and development report I showed you, which had the competencies, leadership identifier, and then the attitude appraisal. And then one thing I didn't show you, it actually also asks questions about their engagement, how much they really enjoy their last job and their last employer. So if they're low on both, this may be somebody that just doesn't get excited about the job, is you're going to have trouble getting engaged. So that's another little indicator that's thrown into the report. Typically investment $75 per candidate. And I didn't mention this, but you can also run all of this except for the attitude on your current employees. So you can get insights into those job fit of your employees, to their competencies, to their leadership potential. You can't ask about the engagement, about if they like your job because they're currently there. But what I talked to Rick about is putting together a package. We have many of our clients that in order to learn the tool, and also it's just such a valuable tool to evaluate your current team for job fit, that you can assess your team, and up to 10 people. We give you all the reports, the personality reports, the detailed training and development reports, give you a video on how to evaluate your team for job fit using these reports. I'm going to share with you the video on the 11 steps for recruiting and selection, and a competency-based interview questions guide, and we would be able to do all 10 assessments for a reduced price of $500. So you'd get used to using the tool. It'd be helpful for you to evaluate your team, and then you could also then use the tool for going forward for new hires. Okay. And the other, go
Good.
ahead. All right. The other thing I wanted. And I'm certainly happy to do another. And then it's an online portal that you would all get. You would go on and be able to assess see your candidates and get your own reports, and send it out anytime you want for a new hire. The other tool I just found out about this week, and I just did a demo yesterday, is called Skill Survey. So it's $30. So this is a way to automate your reference checks. You get candidates to ask for detailed references from their peers and supervisors online and anonymously. So they get higher response rates. You get detailed performance questions. Apparently it takes about 2 days. So let me show you how that looks. They gave me a sample report here. Okay, so here's the sample report. It asks different questions. And they did the same thing where it's targeted to each job. So they asked different questions for a technician than they would ask for somebody in accounting, that they would ask for somebody in management. So they actually, the candidate goes on and asks their own references, signs a waiver and says, please anonymously fill this out. And then it shows managers versus their other references, how the person was rated. And then it asks some really critical questions. Were you involved in the decision to hire this person, and would you work with this person again? Yes, no. And then it has a really pretty long. And then also it has sample questions, so people can write in comments. Yeah, Joe was a quick learner, great personality, and what could be improved. So I have a sample report of that I can share with you. If that's something that, having the turnaround time and being able to get 5 or 6 references to answer you back very quickly is important to you, that might be a tool that you wanted to use as well. You can certainly contact the one that's the most crucial to you, the best job match or the latest boss, and reach out and get even more detailed information. But these might be a way, and they suggest there's a lot of value in getting all these people to compile and fill out information in a quick manner.
Good. Anybody got any questions?
I have a question. That introductory offer, is that only to be used on your current employees, or can you, if you don't use all 10, can you use it for candidates?
Oh, definitely. Yep. Yeah, we can give you the 10 units, and you can use it. We just did 20 for a new client. They call it 15 in-house, and they've got 5 new ones coming through. So they're in the
okay, so we can use it however we want.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to be able to get you, if you're interested, to be set up, get to learn to use the tool. It's really helpful to sort of try it out on your current team. So you know the person already, then you read the report and you say, oh, aha, that's why they do it that. So-and-so does it that way. And versus dipping your toe in with a new recruit. It's a little bit more, it warms you up to the process.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can we run it on somebody in our group to see exactly what it tells of one person? Because I tried one guy with their assessment, and they were just totally, I thought they were totally missed the boat. And I hope they're not the same way, I'm sure, but can we try one person on it? Just
that's
kind
a
of
great
see
question.
What we got?
Yes. I think I can do a demo where you can all just try one person. You do yourself, or you do somebody else in your organization. Obviously, the results are only as good as the person who fills it out, if they're being honest, right? So if it's, and I've had that where people fill out and say, oh, this isn't really me. I must not have, answered the question. Because sometimes we want to say we're more detail-oriented, or we want to say we're more cooperative, but it shouldn't totally skew the results. There's also a scale in there to make sure somebody's being honest, because that tries to validate that. But yes, I'm happy to provide a demo login that everybody can go try one out and see the report and see if it's. That's why I suggest you do it on yourself. You see the questions then, and then you also see you're more likely to give the most accurate response.
So we'll set that up logistically.
Yep, I can set up the demo, and I can that you can try it,
okay.
and I can give you the sample reports and all that stuff.
So you give me what you need, and I'll share it with them, and they can get in touch with you.
Yep, yep.
Great.
Yeah, so, in our family business, we've been using a similar tool for 30 years. And my mother's company has the lowest turnover in her whole industry group of 60 companies. So, it's a valid, reliable, really useful, we've found, and my clients find it very helpful. So I wanted to share with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Any other questions?
That looks good. Oh.
Okay, so I'll share with you Diana's information, and then you can get in touch with her. And then you're also putting together, we'll talk later, but she's also putting together kind of a membership thing where you can get involved and get all of her content and forums and stuff like that, right? And training.
Yep.
If you're
and the next thing I'll share with you is this video, the 11 Steps to Recruiting and Selection, so you can look more at some ideas to. It sounds like a lot, but it really does streamline the hiring process so that you find that person that you have a 90% chance of success.
Yeah, she's going to give that to us, and we'll send it out to you guys so you can look at it.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Diana. Appreciate it.
Bye, Rick. Tend that voice.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Get me back. Oh, I hope she gets me back. Oh, she is.
You're back.
There, come on, Diana.
There you go.
Yep. Okay. Nope, that's hers. Here we go. Now I got to get back to where I can share. Rick. Now we're going. Okay. I hope that was helpful, guys. I'm not doing that to get her business, but I really, try it out. She said she'll let you try it, so it's proven and it works, and she's been using it a long time. So hopefully that might be of help to you. Okay, next thing we want to talk about was rentals, and we want to talk about best practices. And I'll promise you only one slide. But we've all agreed that benchmarking and Mastermind, I found these two things, and I think they kind of summarize it. Real knowledge is the overlap of beliefs and the truth. We all know we have a lot of beliefs that aren't true. But when you find out what beliefs are true, that's really knowledge. And Plato said courage is a special kind of knowledge. The knowledge of how to fear what you ought to be feared and how not to fear what ought not to be feared. So in other words, that's the courage we always talk about when we see how other people in the group are getting great numbers and great results, and we start talking about best practices and how they do it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Both Bob and Keith, if you look at their mix, and I think Frank and I were looking at this today, and Steve and I looked at it yesterday, but rentals, Keith's doing about, nearly $500,000 worth of rentals, and Bob's doing just about the same amount, a little over $500,000. So they must be doing something right, and we thought we all agreed we'd like to kind of do a best practice with them. So I put some slides together, and I can't talk, so I'm going to turn it over to Bob and Keith and kind of use my prompts and talk about what you do and how you do it, guys.
Okay. Well, I'll start. The most important thing, I believe, with rentals is you have to have reliable, good-looking rentals. Because what you want in the rental business is the return business, just like you would any other ideal customer. People forget that. And, you put a bunch of rentals out there, you don't care who shows up and picks them up, but you want the same people renting your equipment as often as you can because they'll take care of it, they understand it, and if there's one, risk in rentals is the guy using it, he abuses it, he's multiple users, and they just, it's a one-time thing, and they don't care, and there goes more than your profit. It becomes a big negative, and I think that's what most people are afraid of and why they don't get in the business. I say that, and I have like 30 trailer rigs that I have currently without my locations, and I saw one just show up the other day, and it looked like crap, And I got on my girl and said, Alicia, man, that thing looks like, yeah, but that's our best rental. Everybody loves it. Well, it doesn't look like it. And she just didn't understand it. And I had to convince her that just because there's only a select few return rental guys that thought it was a great deal because it's never broke down on them. But nobody showing up, or if we want some new ideal rental guys, they're not gonna like that. On the contrary, and this is just examples that just happened this last week, we just put together like 4 more rentals, brand new, and fortunately, and Brian Dennis shared with me, another guy showed up and has been renting. That's his deal. He rents all the time, and finally got tired of the incumbent and showed up and just happened to get one of our new ones. It was like, well, this is it. You got my business forever. And rentals, they make sense for some companies. You know, some companies just don't want to buy it. They have these different contracts that come and go, and it's a great opportunity to get this repeat business that may turn into a sale as well. So I know Keith turns his over quite often. I like to say I turn mine over as often as I should. I'm finding out when I drill down that there's some long-term rentals that have been out there a long time, and we probably should sell them. It's another important thing. There's a lot of other companies renting crap out there. Go ahead, Keith.
No, when he says turnover, I turn mine over. I mean, I'll sell one that has 10 hours on it, and I'll sell one that has, you know, the most hours we ever get on any of my rentals is probably, I say this, and that on the trailer rigs, on a 1260 trailer rig, is probably 1,000 to 1,200 hours, and we will definitely spin them.
And he's right. Important.
But one of the things that I don't understand is why wouldn't anybody? What does people have fear of on rentals that I don't understand? Because I just don't understand why anybody wouldn't want to rent. Because one, like Bob says, reoccurring rental. I have 2 555s that I put in my rental, and I will charge out $5,000 to $8,000 a year in rental just on those 2 machines. You know, and we've had, like I told, we had one machine we rented out to one guy for $90,000. And I know that sounds so extreme and it sounds wrong, but this guy has absolutely no problem renting it. Every, year and a half, we get him a brand new machine and bring his old one in, and it's all electric. But I mean, that's, and you'll have guys that, I mean, everybody rents. Everybody will try to rent before they even buy, and it's a great tool for selling people that, just come in and rent it a couple times, and you'll turn them into a machine sale. I know Ray has a problem with rentals just because he says he thinks it'll reduce his overall machine sales, and I can tell you guys, I can roll over my whole fleet in Dallas in 1 week time. I can sell every machine out of my rental fleet in 1 week. I've done it multiple times. And so people...
guys are looking for discounts, right? And they need a discount machine. And a well-maintained rental, I mean, it seems like a great deal. So they'll jump on that.
And it'll give you great used equipment to sell. That's one of the things it does that I really like. Another thing it does is it'll keep your guys busy. I mean, it's kind of like schedule maintenance agreements. You'll always have rentals coming in. They'll always be working on them and prepping them and checking them out and sending them back out. So it keeps guys busy. I mean, I let them charge out just like they're working on anybody else's machine. I'm trying to think of reasons why I like my rental fleet so well. I mean, you can make a lot of bad decisions on trade-in because everything that I trade in goes into my rental fleet. I mean, I'll rent anything, and that's the other thing. I will rent anything from stationary equipment to trailer rigs to skids and probably Bob, you chime in any time, but probably my biggest renter is a trailer rig with a 1260 on it, a 300-gallon tank, a tandem axle. We'll have about $6,000 in it, and it doesn't take long.
It's $175 a day. Yeah. He did touch on something. You're going to keep your competitors out and these regular rental companies out when you rent anything. They'll have a trailer mount, RSC, and those companies will have one, but they won't rent out a little hot water portable or a little stationary unit or any of those. Those your sales guys need to find. And once again, for your sales guys, that's recurring income. It's like soap sales. And you commission your guys.
One other thing is when you have rentals, rentals get abused because, one, you'll sell a guy who wants to buy something real quick, and if you don't have the machine and you're afraid he's going to walk to a competitor, use my rental till I get your machine, till I get your machine in, absolutely no charge, take it and use it, and you'll keep that guy from looking. That's another great thing about them.
Yeah, the other one is you could provide a loaner if you can't service that customer right away. Once again, that's our differentiator, right? Downtime, service, and with these things sitting at the ready, that's something most of our competitors just do not have. So you can lock them in that way. I always give them equity too. If a guy's just on the fence, he doesn't know, I say, hey, rent it for a few days. I'll give you all that toward the purchase. Oh, shoot, what's the risk, right? Well, he's paid for a rental, and that's the small risk. And a guy that doesn't know if he wants to buy, or a new guy that's not sure if this is the industry he wants to get into. And so it's an easier way to get him in instead of him spending $15,000 on a new trailer mount.
We do the exact same thing. What we say is, okay, you want to rent it, and you rent it a week, and you decide you want to buy it, sure, I'll give you 100% of that. But the other thing you can say, what we do too, is, okay, if you rent it, and you rent it every weekend, and you take it for 4 weekends, and then you decide you want to buy, get your clientele built up, and all that stuff built up, we say we'll give you 50% of your rental toward the purchase. Your previous 30 days of rental, 50% of that toward the purchase of a machine. And then they feel like, well, shoot, that's great. Then I'm not losing all that rental money. And I know they got some coming back, and it's just kind of, I don't know what it eases the fear. These people that want to rent maybe turn it into buying a machine.
Yeah. So now we've told you all the reasons why it's a great idea to go. Things that protect yourself, and you guys can.
One more thing. Really important thing is, before when I was showing my cost of my rental fleet, I had labor, I was throwing machines in there, I was doing all sorts of stuff to make it the worst possible. In reality, for every $1 that you rent, and Bob, you chime in, it probably costs you about 20 cents. So you're getting like 5 to 7, it's usually 5 to 7 times your cost that you'll get back in return. It kind of depends on how you do your accounting, but in reality, it's the most profitable thing I think I can do.
Yep. I didn't know it was that high. I just had a gut feeling it was close to that. Outstanding. So I guess, at this point we could probably stop, and if you guys have any more questions on...
Why don't you tell us how you do it? And I've got some of your forms and stuff. Why don't you tell us how you do it?
It's all. One, we haven't even advertised it. That's one thing that we're going to push this year to advertise it, because one, we were kind of landlocked. We couldn't grow a rental fleet in the Dallas office. That's our rental fleet on the screen. What I did there is I went in on the back side. I actually took a Home Depot and practically copied a Home Depot contract and practically copied it word for word and put it on the back, and that's what I use. I know I didn't pay a lawyer to do it and all that stuff, but we've never really even used it.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. It's a simple rental form, and
yep. So you get that. When they come in, you make sure you get their insurance card, driver's license, sign the rental agreement. And what we do here in our company in Hotsy Carlson, we make them pay for the rental up front We don't have a deposit. In some cases, you might want to do something different. And then the real important thing is, you'd have a good checklist. You make sure you run the equipment in front of the guy when he's picking it up. He completely understands, he has a clear understanding of how to operate it. I tell my guys, don't let them leave until you see it, and you'll know when you see it. Make them run it. And we have a checklist that they, in addition to the rental agreement, that has all these things down. So whoever signs, they can't tell you later, that guy didn't tell me that, which has happened to me before the checklist. And as simple as that might sound, it does protect yourself. And then license plate, everything on there. Hour meter is a huge one because
hour meter definitely.
Yeah,
your hour meter is to protect you also, because if you don't put the hours on the machine, they'll bring it back and they'll say it didn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, the machine says you ran it for 10, 15 hours. It must have done something.
Yeah, well, it's a bullshit detector, and we've had to run off some customers, and that's what probably one of the fears of getting this business. And there's some guys out there that, they're going to go get a job cheap, and I think they plan to rip you off, and bring it back just like he says and say it never worked. And so the hour meters, whether it has one on there, you better put one on, whatever the brand you have. The other thing I found that we did recently on some of our trailer mounts, especially the ones that are going all over the place and far away, we put GPS tracking systems on them, because these things are, especially in the oil field, they're being operated for a lot of hours, and not just for if the guy stiffs you and he wants to run off to find it, but more importantly to change the oil and do the maintenance on it. And some kind of this is where those return customers are great. Hell, you can fill that toolbox up with oil, and that customer will do it because he's he wants to keep that relationship going. Hell, that keeps you from driving all the way down there or making the guy bring it all the way back, that you have a relationship before you allow them to change oil on your equipment. But whenever they're 3-4 hours away, that it's beneficial.
Can I ask a question quickly? Give us some feel for, I think a lot of people have an impression this is all in the oil field. Is it? Okay, that's what I want you to cover.
I tell you, I've rented it to TV manufacturers, like movie picture guys have rented it, and I had one that sat on the guy's lot for a month, and he literally used it for 3 hours. I've had guys call me and say, hey, we just want to wet down the concrete so we can take pictures of our people. I've done that. We've had it. Environmental companies are real big on renting it because, that's some of our bigger customers. Who else?
Yeah.
We had turnaround in factories. We had Tyson come in, and they rented 6 skids from us on a weekend and kept them. We brought them out Thursday so they could start on their plant Friday. They used them over the weekend, brought them back Monday. It was like a $3,000 or $4,000 bill right there, and then they're literally using them for 10 hours maybe.
Yeah, I started my rental business way before I was in the oil business. We've only in the last 6 years, 7 years got in that business. So, and like we alluded to earlier, guys that are looking at just contract cleaning, doing clean on their own. I have rented to movie stations and military where we've set up showers, and specialty stuff, dry ice where they need steam that for some effect. That's really where the money is, and they could care less. And nobody else has that. They go around. There's no rental company that can do that. And
I've had guys rent them just to haul water with them. I've had guys watering trees with them. I've had guys
ants with them.
Ants. Those red. We had a bad case of fire ants, and they'll burn them out on playgrounds.
They don't want to use chemicals. Yeah, you just have to be really open and listen and put yourself out there. There's so many different opportunities, and I don't know, Keith. I don't rent very many cold water washers.
None.
Our rates are the same as Home Depot, so we have them, but there's only a few customers that come and get them from us. I think the real money is hot water.
Yeah, your biggest competitor is going to be your rental houses around you, and that's where you find out what their rental rates are, and they'll come get them from you because you got newer equipment that looks better. It's got more pressure. It's got more heat. And our biggest problem is we're not, Dallas, Fort Worth, we're not everywhere, so it's easier to go by a rental house to pick one up. A lot of manufacturing ran them too because they have turnarounds. They want to clean their plants. And I've sold machines off of it. They rented it and they liked it so well. Heck, I need to buy one, and they'll, and that's full list. When they come back in, that's full list.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, questions?
I'm trying to get an idea of what your rental fleet is comprised of. I've heard trailers, and then sounds like almost anything. So give me an idea of what you rent the most.
Well, what we rent the most is trailers. But then we do have these little hot water portables, like a 1075. Of course, we belt drive. And we also listen and have a few stationary units, and of course the 555. Keith?
We rent all electrics. We rent skids. We rent trailer rigs, probably the most. Skids. That's like a skid, 1260 skid on a pallet. Guys pick them up. We have a food manufacturers rent them all the time. 555s we don't rent very often, but we will. We don't have very many in the fleet, one or two. And usually we take trade-in machines and fix them up, and those go out as rentals. And it's weird. You can have one guy. You can have like a 555, that size machine. Nobody rent it for a month, and then all of a sudden 3 guys or 4 guys or 5 guys want to rent one up for a week at a time. We've had that.
So, Keith, how many, you do $500,000, how many pieces of equipment do you have in your rental fleet?
I got about 20 trailers. I got about 10 all-electric machines, maybe 15. I got about 6 skids, and 555s. I really don't. We rent some stationary equipment that we took in as trade-in, and we rented some of those. And you don't get much, $300 a month, $250 a month. But they rent them for 6 years. I've had a machine that I bought from Bob for $2,500, and I guarantee you I've charged out $10,000 in rent on that. Easy. Same guy.
I got a lot more of those, by the way.
So, Bob, how many pieces of equipment do you have?
Well, I have more trailer mounts. Unfortunately, I like the all-electrics. We also had enjoyed that for a short period of time, but because those really require no maintenance. So I have about 30 trailer mounts. I have these diesel 2-gun systems that seem to be real popular down there because nobody was offering them, and there was a call for them. And in this certain sector, they're unlike where Keith's at, he's able to get away with gas engine. I couldn't. And so we separated ourselves and did that. I also have about 4 of those hot water hot water gas, like 1075s. I have 3 skids with water tanks big for the bigger guys. I have a couple natural gas systems out there currently, and about 4 little, they're PHWs. That's how long they've been there. Back when we were a landed dealer 20 years ago, the damn thing is still there. And it's sitting on a pallet, and we charge $125 a month for those 3 customers. And how I got all 3 of them, it was a reference from the first one, and he just said, "Oh, this is the deal." These guys are not wise enough to realize they can lease it for less than that, but it works for them. They pick up the phone, they call us, we just go fix it. They don't have to worry about it, and it fits their operation budget. That's the other thing. The bigger the company, the less mobility they have to make these purchases. So they got jobs to do, and rentals make sense for them, even if it's the same one over and over. I have a couple cold waters, and I'll rent right out of my showroom. This is something most people probably wouldn't do, but I've had success with it. And my guys don't really have the authorization to do that. They'll have to come to me, and I'll look that guy in the face and listen, this is brand new. If it comes back with a scratch, I'm going to charge you for it. And I go, I understand that, and they'll end up buying it, or they'll spread the word. Oh, that guy's willing to rent anything because he drove around, he couldn't find one, and I was willing to take one out of the showroom. I make a big deal of it though, but they appreciate it.
Okay, I just ran a report over a year, just to give you guys an idea. I ran it on cold waters, $11,000. On surface cleaners, we rent the Hydrotech surface cleaner, $6,500. Hoses, $2,500 worth of hose rentals a year. $555, $7,000. Skid units, which I have probably 3 to 4 in rental, $19,970. All electrics, $85,000. Trailer rigs, that's the biggest one by far. Trailer rigs is $312,000, and rental other, which I have no idea what that is $2,800.
What do you mean by hose rental?
Yeah.
When a guy comes in and he wants an extra 100 foot of hose, we rent it for $20 a day for hoses. So the guy might come in and want 300 foot or 400 foot of extra hose on the rental. The rental comes with 100 foot of hose, but we put 100 foot of hose, and then we charge them $20 a day per hose.
Wow.
Yeah, we do $15 per 50 foot. And we rent water tanks. We rent surface cleaners for $75 a day.
We only get 55 on those.
You guys got to send me your price list so I can get them out to everybody.
Okay, I'll send it again. You do that. I'll get it again to you. Yeah.
Did you send it? I'm sorry.
Oh, this is probably way back,
Oh, okay.
Back.
No, here, Renee sent it.
I rent a trailer rig for
Here you go.
$200 a day.
For how much?
Trailer rig for
How much?
$200 a day. I rent a weekly is times 4. A monthly is a weekly times 3. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
In the oil field, I don't give them any break whatsoever.
Yeah.
You rent it 30 days, it's 30 days of rental.
Yeah, and you see, I have brakes. I have brakes on mine, and I'm thinking about taking some of those off. I think I'm very liberal, especially with these monthly. I was encouraging people to rent them for long periods of time. Makes it easier. But I'm finding out that I'm a little low in some of those areas. And Robin, you might be interested in this. Wash water recycle systems here in Austin is good. Not in Bryan or Killeen, any of my other locations, but here in Austin we have a Hydrotech all-inclusive recycle system that we offer. It doesn't rent out very often, but what it does is it sends the message out there. And a lot of times, even our Alcoa competitor, Mr. Lowball guy who's killing me on price all the time, he doesn't even want to deal with it. So he just sent it to us. At least the customer has somewhere to go, and now he just sent us his customer. And once he comes over to our shop, then we get him. So, and we have weekend rates because we're not open on Saturday. So that's the best bargain. You come in on Friday, you pick it up, and you bring it back Monday, and we only charge you a day and a half. This is an old price sheet. I haven't changed it in some years. It could probably be raised up a little bit in some areas. And I'll rent we have a Mighty Mobile out there that I haven't sold, and guys got their own pressure washers. I'll just rent that's what that is, the system just by itself. And a guy rented it today, and he's just going to set it up. He's probably not even going to use it, but he's going to set it up down there with the booms. He's going to be downtown washing, and just so he looks like he's in compliance. And he'll never forget that. Nobody else can offer that. Once again,
okay, we rent a skid. We rent a skid for $150 a day. We rent the the hot water, 555, I think, are 85 a day. Our gliders are 55 a day, and cold water is about $80 a day. What else? And we do the same rental on the weekends. We say if you pick it up Saturday morning, because we're open on Saturday, half a day. If you pick it up Saturday morning, bring back Monday morning, we charge you. It's not very much more. It's almost like one day of rental.
Yeah.
It's like 10% more. That's it. You probably ought to go up, but.
So you'll send me your price list, Keith, and I'll get it out to everybody.
Okay. I'd love to.
You know, the other thing, too, that you offer that Home Depot or these rental houses, well, maybe the rental houses may offer, but is delivery, pickup and delivery, especially on the little skids or the hot water portable. You know, they're pretty heavy, and it's not like they're going to have a couple guys unloaded off their truck. So if they're downtown or they got space, restrictions, that's something that works out pretty well. I find gratification in providing those things that nobody else can, Those are the ones I gravitate.
Another thing that Bob does pretty good, which I don't do pretty good, is you can put like a 35-gallon chemical tank on it, or 5-gallon jugs of soap at $10 a gallon, and you can say you don't have to. We're going to put it on there. If you don't use it, it's no charge. If you do use it, we'll just charge you our going rate at $10 a gallon. And you'll sell some soap, some high-dollar soap that way, too.
Oh, Keith, there's been an update on that. Hasn't worked out too well because darn customers are filling it up with water.
Oh, really?
And it was so now we got to come up with a different method to check that. Once again, that gets to that point in the very beginning where the ones you really want to foster is those return guys. They won't do that to you. And so you can't just have you have a check-in and check-out policy and other requirements. Those are standard. But as far as what special configurations you do, that's where you need to be a little careful.
Now, one thing that we don't do that Bob, I think he does, but we don't really every once in a while we'll loan out one for free if we've done something wrong to a guy's machine or that. But I don't loan them out because if a guy brings a machine in here and he wants it worked on, your whole rental fleet will be loaned out, and I just don't believe that.
Well,
hey Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, what if you refract that soap right in front of them and put that on your checklist?
That's exactly the answer right there. We have them. So
good. Then they come back. They know they won't do it because they know you're going to check it.
You're right, and that's a good point. In the beginning. 20 years ago when we were doing this, rental started, 15 when I bought the company, just even checking it back in, if we'd trust people, and then that's a big important thing. You got to do it right in front of them, run it, hey, what the heck, and then you don't have to fix it right there. You say, well, you guys are going to get a bill, we'll touch base with you later. Same with when it leaves, you run it. So that's very important that you just don't, go pick it up and off they go, because same thing like Keith said, they'll bring it back and say it didn't work. And the hour meter, that's one that was a great tool once we started putting that on everything. But the customer satisfaction's better. And the other thing to look out for is, big companies will send a guy down and he's just a delivery guy. So you have to ask that question: are you going to be operating it? And if he says no, well, I said, well, then you're responsible to teach the other guy, and everything applies. So if you don't. And here's the checklist. You go ahead and everything we teach you, you better do a good job, because we don't want to hear it that the guy he didn't know, or I didn't tell you didn't tell us that. And I stress my guys on that. Once I do that, all those headaches most of them went away, because when you didn't, we did kind of attract a certain element. Once they knew you could get away with it, they keep coming back, and the same customers always had trouble, ironically. The other thing we have is some of the tools you need. With trailers, we have a trailer test kit, like those guys that sell trailers, and you could, because these guys have weird setups, their trailer lights don't work, and they're responsible for their own deal. They blow our trailer lights out. Hey, that's on them. But so when it leaves out here, if it's not working, we can make sure it's working. We have receiver hitches with different ball sizes. We don't typically charge them for that. Maybe we should, but that way they have it. They forgot it. But if they take it, they'll pay for it.
Anybody got questions? There's got to be questions out there.
I got a question.
I have a question regarding theft and liability, and am interested in just what your experience may have been in either of those cases. And, I was wondering, sometimes we've had to rent a truck because we have a lot of equipment we have to move. And when I go, to budget, I have to buy extra insurance from them for the vehicle. Do you guys do anything like that on your rentals?
You're supposed to have a what do they call it, inland marine?
Correct.
Inland marine addition to your insurance policy, which protects you in case it gets stolen or wrecked or anything like that. But in 14 years, I've had one get stolen before we put GPS on it. We've had, I think that's about it. To tell you the truth, we have had two get stolen, and we found the back that we had GPS on them. But
I've had similar.
I've had guys rent my machine and take it to Minnesota and do a job and bring it back. Safety Clean rents my equipment all the time, and they'll take it all over the country to Washington State, to Minnesota, everywhere, and they'll clean and bring it back.
Okay, so just an inland marine rider on your insurance for theft, and then yes.
Well, for in case they come unhooked and go cream some car too.
Well, but mostly by Keith, you probably do this. I make them show me their insurance, and by doing that and making a copy of the driver's license right in front of them, they know, we're not playing. We're professionals, and so they're less apt to even try it. And if they damage it or it gets lost, it's on them first. And of course, the inland marine just is a fallback.
Yeah, but most of the guys we rent to are not ma and pa guys. They're not individuals. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say 80 to 90% are, and not even higher, are companies.
And those stories you hear of those guys going around stealing rental companies, they're not going to produce their driver's license and let you make a copy of it, I don't think. I mean,
we've had other rental companies. I'm going back through my history and looking at this. We've had other rental companies rent our equipment from us, and they turn around and rent it out.
Yeah.
United Rentals does it all the time.
And then any liability issues as far as somebody getting hurt? How do you train them? I don't know. The rental agreement was really, too small to read all the small print. But
I'll send
anything in there about, uses at your own risk?
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there's something in there. Home Depot put it together. That's what I use. But
yeah, and it's
so you're never worried about that then?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anybody shoot themselves in the foot or anything like that. It came back to us.
All right.
It does say that they indemnify themselves harmless against claims, losses, costs, damages, attorney fees, liability in connection to hiring and use of the equipment, regardless of whether a lawsuit is filed.
I'm telling you, if they want to sue you, it don't matter what you have in place, they'll sue you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to.
Hey, Robin.
Yes.
I'm in the same state as you are.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem. And you've got my copy of my rental agreement.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for close to 20 years. We've been renting equipment.
Yeah.
I've had one theft and no losses by customers at all. I've got 10 1075 SSEs on rental right now to Foster Farms in a production plant. They've had them for 6 weeks. We bought all the equipment brand new, and they're paying for the service on it, and they're sending me a check tonight for $56,000 for the first 6 weeks of rental.
Nice.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice, Jim.
Go have a beer on that.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah, and that's what we've always done. Like you guys, if a guy walks in and he wants to rent a piece of equipment, there's nothing we won't rent.
I tell guys, you can rent when you want my desk, I'll rent you my desk.
Exactly. And I'll go with it if you got enough money.
Anything else? Any other questions or comments?
I've got a question. We have and we just picked up 2 brand new trailer mounted units today to put into our rental fleets. We're getting ready to jump into it. But I have a question about weekend rates and how effective is that? We've discouraged weekend rates. People ask us that we have a daily rate and a weekly rate. We don't have a weekend special. We basically, because we think that the weekend special guys are the homeowners or the guys that are going to be doing fly-by-night type stuff. And really what we want is the more ideal customers, environmental customers, and they're not the guys that are going to rent on the weekend. Is that true? Am I right at all?
No, you're probably right, Frank. But
I disagree. I tell you, we rent
I do too. Yeah.
Cactus Environmental. We rent to big plants. Turnaround on plants are always on the weekends. When they're gone.
We've got contract cleaners out there that rent.
Do you think you have to give them the discount though?
No,
not always.
Yeah, I think that's what he's asking, the rate. And those companies, I think, would rent from you regardless of the deal. I think he might be a point. If they're renting to get the deal, they might not be our ideal customers. I never thought of it that way.
No, I try to encourage the deal because that's how I sell equipment. I want them to build their clientele up. Like a brand new guy that walks into my store that's never rented and never done anything. That's the guy. That's your biggest risk. And that guy, you got GPS on the system, so it's not that big of a risk. And he'll bring it back to you. The next Monday morning, you get a little inflated rate. You turn him in. Hopefully, if he's half a wit whatsoever, he'll start renting more and more and more to the point where he'll end up buying one. And we've had this 3 sisters that started a pressure washer company. They rented every weekend. They rented every weekend for 2 years, and they finally bought their own machine. And I mean that rental of 2 years rental turned them into a customer.
Yeah, I mean that's how I started it. But I'm just now thinking about a few that just, I think they did fall in that other category. But once again, you got to take the good with the bad, and I think the good far outweighs the bad. Like Keith says, you got to have a policy like that. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
My
other question is about the insurance. Before somebody can leave with a trailer-mounted unit, we require a COI from their insurance company that will prove to us, and I've talked to a couple other guys, and they don't go that far as they get a copy of their insurance card for their truck or something like that and a copy of their driver's license, but they don't actually get a copy of their insurance coverages.
No, we don't.
You do?
No, I don't. I just get their copy, and that's good enough for me. Yeah.
What my insurer,
I don't even get that.
My insurer says is that if they rent from any of these other, the Ready Rentals or the Sunbelt or whoever the other big rental, they'll have to provide a COI from them or for them, and they're used to it. And sure enough, we've had very little resistance. The guys that couldn't produce one were not guys we wanted to rent to anyway. So,
well, I guess we're cowboys down here in Texas. We just don't check into that. Well, probably a good idea. Yeah, maybe I'm going to look into that. Once again, because we haven't been burned lately, at least the last few years, they can see it's a professional organization and the attention to detail. I think that it discourages I think there's plenty of other places like those rent houses that they can victimize, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, thank you guys a lot. Appreciate this. There's one other thing I'd like to do, if you guys don't mind. While we got this on record, could we go around the group, and I don't want you don't need to mention my name, but I'd like to just do these testimonials real quick and just think about, in a snippet, what benchmarking in the mastermind group, why you were reticent getting into it, and what benefits you're getting out of it, and is the investment worth it? And if you just go around, we'll record it, then I'll edit it. But I want to be able to use this in these meetings we have, if you don't mind. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, I've just got your names written down. Jim, just start it off and really, I'll edit it. So just kind of say what why you may have been reticent doing this, but then what you've gotten out of it and what the power of it is.
Well, I wasn't ever reticent doing it, though, but that's the problem. Because besides that, it's not worth a shit, Rick, so what am I going to say for you? Anyway.
Okay, that's what I wanted. That'll work. Honesty.
No, I mean, I have never, in the last few years, I've gotten old enough to realize that I don't know everything and I need help. And that's always been the bigger thing, is that, first off, the powerfulness of having many different opinions and many different views of how you run your business is one thing, but the other thing is to have somebody holding you accountable other than yourself. And I think that's the bigger issue. I mean, we do tend to hold ourselves accountable because we are business people, but that different perspective of somebody else pushing you and asking the questions. What about this or what about that? Whether or not it's, right or wrong doesn't matter. It's just a matter of asking the question and getting a different viewpoint. So for us, it's been always been a great thing. I don't agree with everything, and, we don't do everything. But we found the things that work for us, and a lot of them have come out of working with you, but also working with the mastermind group as a whole. So that's my comments on it.
Oh, the actual benchmarking, how does that help you?
Again, what it has done for me is, I look at the other guys out there, and they're showing me the way that it's that belief, the truths and the ideas that you have, that you can't do that, but when you look at other guys that are doing it, and before, you look at CETA has an average, and their average guy is lower than our average guy. And I never wanted to be an average guy. So I look at, the other guys out there like Bob, like Keith, like Ray, and going what they're actually doing and what the potential is. So it drives us to be better at that and know that we can attain those same kind of figures.
Okay, thanks. Bob?
Well, the CETA average guy is not even close to our lowest guy.
I know.
Anyway, I would say just sign up. Rick's got it going on. Don't even, just send the money in and just. What it's done for me is it's gave me the confidence to continue doing what it works good. In fact, expand on it based on the benchmarking against these other companies that I respect and these individuals who I think are credible and educated. They know what they're doing. So that did a lot for me as an individual and as a leader. And it also, what it did, some of the areas that I was weak at, able to look at it and see why it's not working, and then the best practices that I got from the group. And Rick has been great to facilitate that, and he has the uncanny ability to extract that information from us who sometimes don't know what to say, and making that format that's been a comfortable format to share these best practices, and more importantly the with the benchmarking, the numbers. I mean, we're all in it for a profit, and it drives whether you're on top of the list or bottom. It makes you focus on that, which is what it's all about, that net profit. And in each category, whichever they may be, rentals, soap, things that we may or may not do, it brings that awareness to us, and we can implement those into our own businesses.
Okay, thanks. Steve? Steve? Not there. Bill? Bill's not there.
They all hung up when you asked them to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Keith?
One thing that when you own a business by yourself and you're running it by yourself, you're kind of working in a vacuum. You don't know what's potentially that you can be, or potentially what is there to be done, and so you develop these self-limiting beliefs that you think you're doing good, and you're probably not in certain areas. Everybody's good in some area, because if they wouldn't be, they'd be out of business. And when you combine benchmarking, you can quickly see how you're doing compared to peers in your group, like-kind businesses, like-kind, problems, like-kind, sales, everything. And so, to me, benchmarking is probably the one tool that has helped me, increase my bottom line to what it is today. Benchmarking this year, I can measure it this year, will make a difference of about $250,000 to my bottom line just in labor alone. And that's what I attribute. And the thing that makes it work is not just us getting together and discussing it and talking our self-limiting beliefs and discussing it and how to get over them. So to me, benchmarking is the most powerful tool an owner can use to increase his profits, and to make a better business, and way less stress. The only stress that I have now is I'm doing the best I've ever done in 14 years owning the business, making more money, more to the bottom line, all that, and I still feel like I'm not doing as good as I could be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. How about you, Robin?
As far as the monthly coaching, it's just been invaluable to Mike and I, because we always ran our business by the seat of our pants and kind of hoped and prayed we'd, make enough money every month to pay the bills and have an income. But now, using metrics, having goals, being accountable has taken us to the next step, and our business is running probably more smoothly because we're working towards meeting these goals, and we're taking the time not just to put out the daily fires, but to actually, manage our business. But there's always something there that we're looking at that is telling us, hey, we need to market more, we need to do whatever it is to meet our goals. So,
Good.
And as far as the mastermind portion of it, that's been so helpful, listening to what everybody else does and benefit from their experience, and hopefully contribute also.
Great, thanks. Anybody I didn't mention? Dan? Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you?
Well, good. You know what? I'm so new to this, but it's fantastic hearing the language being used, because that's been my life for so long, about around psychometrics and accountability and system evaluation, and talking about benchmarking yes, that's so important, but it also has to do with then going on and setting goals and setting, what strategies you're going to use and what outcomes you're going to measure to get there. And even the discussion today, around around rentals, I thought that was fascinating because, as it was mentioned before, Ray's not really into that right now, but it's something that we might be looking at for our North Dakota branches. So I found today's discussion fascinating. I really did.
Great, thanks, and we look forward to having you from now on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay,
Rick,
yeah, go ahead.
No, this is Dan. I'm still here.
Oh, I didn't know. Go ahead, Dan. You want to say something?
Yeah, well, I think from our perspective, Rich has got a wealth of experience, been in a long time. With us coming in new, it's really helped us sharpen our focus. Obviously, to make a play on ESPN, numbers don't lie. And when we work with you, whether it's one-on-one or in the Mastermind group and the benchmarking group, you really drill us down to where the right number, where we should be in every category. And that really helps us look and move this thing forward. And the other great thing about it is working with a group as an entirety, it flat out allows you to plagiarize in a positive way. You're looking and listening to what everyone else is doing, but it's enhancing your business. And that's the phenomenal part about this, is learning from these guys that are so successful across the country. And I suppose we can throw in Canada as well.
Okay, great, guys. Thanks, everybody. So we're right on time, 5 o'clock, and I'll get the recording back out to everybody with the stuff from Diana and all these forms.
Okay.
All right?
Let me know.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Take care, guys.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much, Rick.
thanks, Rick.
Bye.
Talk to you later, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.